So be honest with yourself. Face your fears, because the beauty of life is the fact that we can feel things, man.
100%.
I feel alive when I'm cold. I'm grateful for the cold because I feel alive. If you want to numb your senses, then you're not living.
That's coping in Canada, by the way. We don't have a choice. Okay. What's up, everybody? I'm Cassius Morris, and welcome to Innersleeve on the WatchMojo podcast network, the podcast that gives you a deep dive, inside look at all things music. We're joined today with a very special guest through the power of Zoom. He's joined us all the way from Victoria, British Columbia, Canada. He's a singer, songwriter, rapper, and overall a super unique artist with a lot to offer. Ladies and gentlemen, Rusur on the show today. How you doing?
I'm doing great, man. Feels good, and it's definitely an honor to be here.
It's an honor to have you, my man. You were one of the first artists that I really looked at getting onto this show, and you have so much exciting stuff going on. Primarily, people may know that the Cyberpunk 2077 game just dropped, and you're not only featured in one song. How many songs are you featured on this game?
Not 2, not 3, not even 4. But 5 songs. And I do believe with that number, I might be the most featured artist on the entire soundtrack.
Hold on a second. And for people to process that, this is one of the biggest game releases, I would say, in the past decade. I mean, it's been compared to Grand Theft Auto 5. Some people are even saying, hey, we don't even need GTA 6. We'll just settle for Cyberpunk. How does it feel to you, my man, to be having so many songs placed in a game of this stature? That's the first thing I want to know.
Well, it's not necessarily about the quantity of songs placed, but of the content of what the songs contain. Right. Because one of the songs I did with my buddy Serbius and Konrad OldMoney, and I'm rapping in French. Now, I do believe from what I've been playing that I have the only French verses, the only French song on the entire game. So I'm now representing la communauté francophone.
Okay, exactly. For the Canadians, man.
For the Canadians, for just the French community altogether.
Yes.
Right? And so with that has a huge impact too. And on top of that, when you're riding on into Night City, the first thing you hear, City of Dreams, City again. Come on, man.
Take me through that moment when you first loaded up the game, because you have the game yourself, correct?
I have the game.
Of course. So you're loading it up. You hear your main song, which is called City of Dreams, or is it called Gr4ves?
It's called Gr4ves.
It's called Gr4ves. So you're hearing Gr4ves, and you're seeing this new virtual world that has been so long awaited. Is it emotions going through you? Is it thoughts? What's going on in that moment?
You know what's really interesting is that I have already been excited, and I feel like I got my energy out prior to the game releasing. So when I was playing the game, it was like, so this is what it's like to be in a video game. I've been waiting for this moment. I've been prepared for this moment, and it has arrived.
Right.
What's next?
So you've gone over the hump of, oh my gosh, is this real? Is this actually happening? Because you've been in production with this for quite a while. How long did it take you to make the 5 songs?
It didn't take me long, but the process of waiting for it to be released. Like, here's the thing. In my songwriting career, since I go by many names, but right now, we centering it right to Rusur.
That's right.
I have written 400 songs in 5 years.
Jeez.
So it takes me about 2 hours to write a song.
Okay.
But the process from the first song, listen, it's so crazy. I didn't even know about Cyberpunk until I was in LA and I was talking to Konrad, and he's like, yeah, this was 2 years ago, talking to Konrad about, he's like, yeah, there's a chance that I might be on this video game.
And that's Konrad OldMoney, the producer, right?
Konrad OldMoney.
Okay.
He's the man.
Yes.
Man,
well-esteemed
he got 27 songs.
Wow.
27 songs.
That's insane.
On the game. My gosh. Anyway, I digress from that. I could talk all day. But LA, 2 years ago, I hear the game title is Cyberpunk, and I'm like, the one thing that excited me was, yo, man, I want to do punk music. Like, let me in, coach. Put me in, coach.
Yeah, seriously. Mix a cyber element with it. Why not?
Exactly, man. And so I'm like, because I'm all about being diverse as a songwriter, not limiting myself. And also, me as an artist am not trying to limit myself.
Yeah.
And so I'm always about being that chameleon. And so I'm like, let's try punk music, you know? So then before I was even formally given the opportunity to work on Cyberpunk, I'm like, I want to get on this flipping game. So I scoured my iTunes for all of the, like, any instrumentals that Konrad sent me over the years.
Right.
And I found one that I'm like, okay, this feels like punky, cyberpunky.
It's a good vibe.
Okay. Good vibe. And so I just sent it over to him. I'm like, I know you haven't really given me the permission to work on this yet, but I don't care. I want in. So then the first song that I sent in was Bruises, and it got placed. And then boom, next thing you know, another one placed, another one placed, another one placed. You know?
And you just kept hitting them, and they kept hitting you back. And I mean, it must have been quite a rush initially when you were first getting those accepted.
My success rate on this video game, I submitted like 8 songs and got 5.
That's big, man. That's definitely big. And I mean, Konrad OldMoney, you know, he's definitely been working on his craft for a long time. And it's so interesting to see yourself and a lot of the other artists out of Vancouver, out of Victoria, that are really making such big moves. One question I have in terms of the production of these 5 songs, you talk about how you like to switch it up and almost be chameleon-like with your music in the sense that you can rap, you can write singer-songwriter stuff, etc. Were they very specific in terms of, we want a certain direction for our game and our soundtrack? Or did they just say, we're going to let you loose in the studio and make us something great?
Well, I think it was more the latter. And mostly, like, the biggest thing, the way that I got on 5 songs is because I was able to provide 5 different voices. Because they're not trying to have like the same artist consistently on. They're creating a radio station, right? They're creating a soundtrack. So they don't want to have like 10 artists with like 10 songs each, right? Yeah. So I threw in a little bit of my voice acting skills, you know? So this is my regular voice. But when I sing like this, you know what I mean? You know what I mean? So we bring some new aspects around the songs. And the beauty of it was that I really was able to let loose. I was able to like, hey, I wanna be a cold-blooded gangster in Night City. Right. So that's what I'm gonna rap about. I'm gonna rap about this fictional lifestyle. And it hit. I mean, it hit.
100%.
We don't miss. 100%. We don't miss, Doc.
No misses coming from your side. And, you know, in terms of manipulating your voice into different ways, into different ranges, is that difficult for you as an artist in the studio when each song is different and you're saying, okay, for this song, I'm this guy? Because a lot of people on their albums, they just do 8 to 10 songs of the same guy.
Totally. And here's the thing. That's the point of being an artist. You know, you have a theme and a thesis. Yeah. And that's why me as an artist, that's why we're representing me as an artist. Because me as a songwriter, I could be anyone. I could do anything because I'm writing for other people or I'm writing for specific projects. And that's super fun. However, how can you attach yourself to someone that you'll never actually know because I can be anything, right?
That's a good point.
So the prime, like, this is why we do Rusur. This is why I'm wearing red, my G. We're creating something that you can attach yourself to, and then you can like check out the fun stuff that I do on the side. You know?
Right. Exactly. And in terms of your artist identity, because a lot of people do know you as Johnny Gr4ves and of course the song Graves in Cyberpunk. Talk to me about the Rusur element of your artistry. When did you decide to phase that in, and what is that aspect of your artistry aimed to represent?
Listen, man, Rusur started this year, and we're currently in 2020. we're in phase 1, and phase 1 was to demonstrate the skills that I can provide and it was to show myself how much I can do by myself.
Right.
With a lot of songs, and especially pop, there is always this infamity. It's an infamous way of thinking about it, where like there are a lot of songwriters on one song. There's like 20 songwriters.
Right.
And then there's like 6 producers. And then, you know what I mean? There's a whole team behind one song.
And maybe Beyonce's real name somewhere at the bottom of the credits somewhere.
Right? Exactly, right? So what I'm trying to show people is how much you can do with one person, with one mind, right? This year, man, I taught myself how to produce, and now I'm producing bangers. You can check it yourself. I produced a full album in 3 weeks.
For different artists too.
Yes, I produced, wrote it, mixed, mastered, distributed. I don't play any games. And the biggest thing is, hey, I'm here to show you that you can also do this. I taught myself. I didn't know anything about it, but I just learned and I asked questions.
Exactly. Well, I think that's the most important thing, asking questions, and the fact that in the day and age we're in now, I mean, in the fact that if you don't own a computer, you can get a free library card and go use one. If you're not learning a skill or a trade that is accessible to you, it's simply just because you're not interested, because we have the means, we have it around us. And it's kind of like working out from home, right? Like some people, it doesn't click with them. Like, oh, I can just be doing this and learning this from here. But I guess it's a zone you have to put yourself in. Earlier in the conversation, you sort of hinted that it's easier for you to produce and write for other people, like you just mentioned, making projects for various pop artists and different rap artists you're now working with. What's easier about working and writing for other people?
Well, it has less to do with the ease and more to do with my fervor to help people understand how to tell stories.
Okay.
That is my favorite thing. When I'm working with Serbius, who's also on Cyberpunk. I just finished the first production mix of his project, his first project.
Nice.
And the first thing that I told him, I'm like, I want you to roam free, but I want you to do one thing for me. I have one request. Tell me your story. Everyone has a very colorful story, but most people don't know how to be storytellers. And when you tell your story in a way that's palatable, people learn from that, and they learn more about themselves through that. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, if you're going to tell me I don't want you to tell me about how much money you're making or how many cars you're going to get. No one cares about that. People care about your story. Right. And with Serbia specifically, he came from Cuba. He came all the way from Cuba, and the culture is different. What did you have to give up to get here? Even the parties. If you're gonna tell me about banging a chick, then tell me about a specific moment for you in your life.
Like J. Cole with that, I never did this before song. You know, that was genius, but it was about a subject that is over discussed, but it was spun in an interesting way. I hear what you're saying.
Exactly. It's just about telling your stories. People are regardless of how pop has this method, this scientific whatever, it doesn't really resonate as much as the songs where people are actually telling their stories. And you can history has shown that.
Yeah. Definitely.
The pop songs that are here today, they're gone tomorrow, and people are like, that was fun when it lasted. Oh, remember that song? But it doesn't stick with them because what is there to stick? It's like you're just eating a little bit of candy. Oh, okay, sweet. That was great. What's next?
Right. It's almost like consuming, 3 Michelin star meal compared to a bag of Doritos. You can enjoy both in the moment, but one of them you're probably going to remember and it's going to last longer. No one sits around and thinks about the time they ate a bag of chips.
You know what? That is an amazing analogy because you know what? The biggest thing is with that Michelin star meal, it's not just the food that you're consuming that's good. It's the experience around it.
Yes.
What memories were created while you're in this environment. And the only way you can create an environment is by understanding the environment. The only environment that you understand is your own.
That's a fact. See? Mic drop. Exactly. We'll turn them off right now. No, it gets rid of it completely. So, let me ask you this, because this is fascinating to me. You're bringing me down this path of thoughts. So in terms of remaining yourself and telling your story because you're operating in a space that's partially pop, and you're aware of that formula that they have put together. So how do you keep your voice in those projects as you continue to work for different people in that space? And have you found it more difficult to keep your voice as you've progressed?
Well, you have to think about it too. Like, my voice as my real name is Zaboria Peters. I'm presenting myself as Rusur because that is what I want to represent. As a songwriter, Johnny Gr4ves. So when we talk about, there are many names for the same thing. Where is my voice? My stories still are the same.
Yeah.
Right? When we are here having this conversation because I have successfully maintained the voice of Zaboria Peters throughout these projects, right? And that is the beauty of it. I wanted to show it doesn't matter how you see yourself online. It matters about the work that you put in and your conviction towards what your goals are. I've been, and I know that you can vouch for me, I've been staying the same with my message and with my goals for years. My friends in flipping elementary school are like, you have been the exact same. I've been saying, I want to change the world since I was 7.
These are facts.
That hasn't changed.
No, it hasn't changed at all, man. And I love what you're saying here, because it's like, I'm being given, I guess what you're saying is that you know how to incorporate your story into this pop formula. Whereas I think I couldn't put a number on it, but a massive percent of our artists, that I think would be fair to say the majority, they tailor their message to the formula. So just because, for example, you're doing an auto-tune song, they see that as a cheap formula. So they fill it in with cheap lyrics. Whereas
totally,
you can see a pop vessel or an auto-tune vessel of music as a vessel of delivery, and actually make songs of substance using those vehicles. And I will give an example. One of the most highly esteemed auto-tune projects ever, 808s and Heartbreaks, Kanye West, because he took auto-tune and he applied it to deep, jarring real life situations. So I guess what I'm hearing from you is that, yes, I take that formula, but I put what I want into it. Is that fair?
It's about compartmentalizing your ideas, right? A lot of people, people don't understand how complicated we are as human beings. And it's impossible to represent ourselves on just one thing, right? Even being just a singer, there are so many different ways so many different types of music that we like to listen to. But in order for you to get to know me, we need to start somewhere. And let's start at the foundation. Let's start at a compartmentalized version of myself, a little piece. I'm going to give you some pop. I'm going to give you some R&B. I'm going to present some red colors. Check out my Instagram. You know what I mean? It's just, I got that nice little theme going on, but
we're paying homage. We're paying homage. You know what I'm saying?
Looking like mustard and ketchup up in here.
I love that.
But at the end of the day, I'm presenting just an inkling so that you can get interested, and then we can talk. And then I can open you up to the world of Zaboria Peters. But you need to enter through Rusur, because that is where the base starts.
And I mean, you need, I think, not just you. I mean, somebody as an artist needs to give people a place to enter. And
exactly,
it seems with hip hop, especially because you also rap and you're very good at it.
Nice.
People seem to really have this thing with hip hop that you have to be a certain type of person to do it. And it's kind of like the pop and autotune stuff. When people go to hip hop, they tend to tailor who they are and what they do to what they think they should be doing. Why do you think people are so afraid to be authentic and be themselves, especially in hip hop?
Because they're afraid of the unknown.
People are afraid of things they don't understand, and they may not understand themselves.
I literally this morning had a conversation with someone that I was trying to work with for 2 years. And I've been being like, hey, you have an amazing voice, a voice that I feel like can change the world. And she's in school for art. Yet she tells me that she doesn't have time to make music with me. Sorry, I'm really busy. And I'm like, see, I don't want you to come up with excuses. Be honest with yourself. Don't lie. You're just scared. Because I am, if you are going into school for art, and I'm an artist, and I'm on the biggest video game in the world right now, next to A$AP Rocky, Grimes, and Run the Jewels, and I am asking you for your voice, I'm proving to you that it is very possible. You just need to work with me. However, you don't want to be an artist, or you're just scared. So be honest with yourself. Face your fears, because the beauty of life is the fact that we can feel things, man.
100%.
I feel alive when I'm cold. I'm grateful for the cold because I feel alive. If you want to numb your senses, then you're not living.
That's coping in Canada, by the way. We don't have a choice.
Okay. And the reality too is, like, just think about the tiny percentage of actually being alive. The chances of being alive. If you actually understood the chances of being alive, you'd want to explore what it really is to live.
It's 1 in billions, the chance.
Exactly. And that's why I'm doing this. That's why we're here. Because I'm showing you, hey, this is how dope of a life that you can have. Even doper. Try to one-up me. Come on.
Right. And do you feel like people are programmed? Well, I'm not even going to ask that question, because I mean, I think it's pretty clear that people are programmed.
You might know the answer.
Yeah. People are programmed to think that a degree is of more value than experience in some way. I mean, have you encountered a lot of that where people will say, oh, I'm going for, I mean, quite frankly, and not to put anybody down, I encourage everybody to pursue their dreams, but you could potentially be a lot more successful and be a lot more stable making songs and having them placed than having an art degree.
It's easy to play it safe. It really is. But here's the thing. You're right. In that respect, having an art degree, it's like going to school for art is more about making connections. However, typically, like, especially here in the West Coast, especially where I'm living in Victoria, a lot of people got the small town mentality where it's like, I'm okay. I'm doing all right. And you know what? I'm not going to hate on that lifestyle. That's okay.
Right.
But if you're telling me, hey, I want to sing for a career, there are certain things that you need to do. There are certain things that you need to accomplish in order to sustain yourself as an artist.
Yeah.
So what are you waiting for? Here, I'm giving you the step-by-step, the blueprint. Are you going to take it, or is this the test to show you maybe I'm too scared?
Well, that's
Live
true.
a little. Live a little.
Yeah, and I think it is a mixture of fear and also not understanding exactly oneself, and it's a lot of different layers, I think. And I think it's not just one layer of fear, it's many layers of misunderstanding. But I definitely encourage people who just go out there and get out there. And I mean, you've been doing it for so long. What do you think you've learned the most in 2020 as an artist? What have you learned this year the most? It's so tough, I know.
You know what? No, I know exactly what it is.
Okay, good.
And the thing is, for me at least, I learned that the person that I need to trust the most with anything is myself. I can't put more trust in someone else than I do to myself. I trust my vision, I trust my goals, and I trust my direction. And the other people are the subsidiaries of my goals. So I'm glad that I have taught myself many things. I've even taught myself graphic design because I had a graphic artist. And I'm like, hey, can you do a couple things for a logo, blah, blah, blah. I need these by a certain time. And then I get ghosted. And I'm like, well, I still need to get these done.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Google it up.
Now I'm a graphic designer. I made some logos. You know what I mean? I do that work. I put in that graphic design work now.
You make good logos.
Myself. I trust myself. And that's what you can do when you trust yourself. Do a masterclass. What's the value in it, right?
Learn a language.
Boom. I'm learning Korean right now. 안녕히하세요. You know what I mean?
Bam, okay.
저름은 집니다. You know what I mean? You already know.
The worldwide edition on the WatchMojo here. That's what we're going with.
We're starting it off strong.
Starting it off strong. So I'm just curious in terms of, because obviously Cyberpunk is such an incredible boost for you, and congratulations, by the way, on that.
Thank you.
What sorts of opportunities are you looking to parlay off of this? What are you looking forward to doing next? And also not only in terms of opportunity, but in terms of spreading your message?
Well, my friends, the goal is to build the platform. The platform shall be built in many ways, and you follow the path that's presented in front of you. Right now, I'm like, well, I did some songwriting, did a couple different voices. Technically, I have 5 characters on Cyberpunk. Why don't I get into voice acting? Why don't I do some of that? I can then, through that, place my songs as Rusur on maybe movies or video games based on the fact that I'm in it or that I got the connections. You just got to keep growing, you know?
Right. So you just basically want to take it to whatever logical avenue is next and then continue going from there.
It's a metamorphosis, because at the end of the day, this year, I have, in 2020, released an album by myself, 6 singles by myself, produced, mixed, mastered. And now we're just getting started on, hey, let's bring some people over. Hence, this beautiful interview.
Exactly. And I mean, you did mention how many songs, especially for a number of years that you wrote. How do you pick what songs you're going to narrow it down from when you're writing almost 100 songs a year?
It's funny because I don't pick, I just write more songs.
So you just end up picking them all eventually.
Yeah, like sometimes they come down the line, I'm like, hey, I like this song, I'll produce it. Or I'll just be like, I want to produce a new song today. So for example, most of the songs this year, I just made on the spot. So there's still a lot more. So I'm not going to cap at 400. Nah, man, we're going Super Saiyan. We're not stopping.
You're like the Lil Wayne vault. Somebody said, I heard you wrote 400 songs. He goes, 400? He goes, I wrote 5,000. He's like, what the hell are you talking about 400? I was like, that was really insulting. And this dude's a professional. I shouldn't talk to this fucking guy at all. This guy in his element. So I'm curious about this. And I have the results here. Who do you think WatchMojo listed as the top rapper of all time?
Oh my gosh. So I saw this poll about how many Grammys each artist won. I think Jay-Z was number 1, Eminem number 2, Kanye 3rd, and then Kendrick. Think like that. So I'm going to say WatchMojo said Jay-Z.
Wow, that is a good guess. You're correct. WatchMojo said Jay-Z. Number 1.
Where's my prize?
Yeah, hold on a second. Let's check under your seat. Top 10 hip-hop artists hip-hop and rap artists. Yeah, number 1 was Jay-Z. Number 2 was Rakim. 3 was Nas. 4, Biggie. And 5 was Tupac, for anybody who's wondering. And of course, make sure to go subscribe to WatchMojo on YouTube for all of those top 10 lists. They're fantastic. Who's your personal favorite rapper? Is it Jay-Z or would you put someone else at number 1?
Personal favorite, I would say Kendrick Lamar is my man. He I grew up through high school listening to his music and being like, okay, he's not just a rapper. He's not just an impeccable rapper. He's not just an impeccable artist, but altogether, like as a person, he just does it his own way. He's never, here's the thing, man. I know that I'm not good. Like I don't excel at the social media grind because I hate it. I'm like, I exist outside of this. So what are my strengths? And that's how I've gotten to this place because I've moved the way that I wanted to. Kendrick did the same thing. He just released content. Like, do you see him on Instagram? He doesn't show up.
I don't even know if he still lives in North America anymore. I don't know where he's at.
We don't know much about him, only through his music and through what he says on interviews. And that's beautiful because he moves that way. And it shows that it's possible. You just got to keep grinding at it and like, hey guys, I'm here. I'm talented. And I got something to say.
Totally. And I mean, it's beautiful too, because he had more of a presence when he was younger, but still it was to a lesser degree than other people. And you don't see a bunch of old posts from Kendrick Lamar in 2005 posting stupid photos or saying stupid things because that was never the world that he existed in. Yeah. And I mean, it must be tough as a person who has to be out there self-promoting and self-marketing, but you're not big on the social media game. That must be a challenge.
Not really.
Because it's just work.
Social media is an illusion, my brother. However, it's a beautiful platform when it's used right.
Yes.
I love to get onto those platforms through different means. So I build my social presence in real life to then be a part of these bigger social media outlets. I think that it's silly how, like, I think it's important. Like, WatchMojo is important because it's a hub that brings people together rather than being like, hey, look at me, follow me because I have 10,000 followers, or hey, follow me here. And that separates everyone. I think it's important to, to bring people together, to congregate into a certain place. If we got some right mentalities, if we're having some great conversations, let's come to one place. That's why interviews are important. That's why podcasts are important, right?
Seriously, because I mean, and it also gives an open forum to really lay it out. And I mean, that's been one of my recent complaints and gripes with Instagram and Twitter is because just posting a picture, unless you really utilize the blog that a lot of people won't read under it or the caption, it just doesn't deliver much, unless it's a really specific type of photo. So being able to do an interview like this where you can sit down with someone and say, what's their vision and have them tell you, not have to look at a collage of photos and guess, I think is something that's really important. So, and in terms of final thoughts, do you have any? And what would you like to express to the people since we are on this platform right now?
Well, I think a lot of it has to do with perspective. I think it's important for people to know that social media is just a facet of your life. It doesn't define you. It doesn't create you. Me, myself, check it right now. I'm probably at under 200 followers. Yet, I'm on the biggest video game of all time. That's interesting. How did I get there? Well, it has to do with moving correctly. Moving in the logical steps. So don't allow people to tell you which direction you need to take. Go with what feels right. Go with your story. Mic drop.
Hey, that's what I'm talking about. My man Rusur. No, you're speaking the truth, and people need to realize that the days of fake likes, the days of fake followers, the days of inflating who you are and what you do are over. Okay, that the people who are going to prosper in this game are the people that are doing it legitimately, and you're going to be seeing a lot more cases like this because that is reality. Reality is not being famous overnight. Rusur, thank you so much, my friend.
Thank you. It's a new era, brother.
Awesome.